All right, I am super pumped for this video today. So making goals, training for goals, and achieving goals is probably something that like most of us have done out there our entire lives, unless you just have like no life goals. For me, after a recent scoped carbine class with Sidewinder Concepts hosted by Badlands Munition, I not only got to meet a goal that I had set for myself, but I far surpassed it. And I am now just absolutely hungry to get out there and use those skills, continue to go to more training, and of course, get time in behind the glass. Now, there are several reasons I wanted to make this specific video, but there's really three goals I wanted to accomplish here. The first one being, a couple years ago, I wanted to start finding really good instructors or instruction companies, training companies around the United States so I knew where to spend my hard-earned money when it came to training, learning new skills, and just having a great time out there on the range. And number two is I wanted to learn more about longer distances, scoped carbine, and of course work my way into more precision shooting at longer distances, because not only is there a lot of skill involved, but it's really an art, especially when it comes down to wind calls. And that third goal was obviously to share this information with you guys, because training's not cheap and money is hard earned these days. And I want you guys to have the best information you can be armed with to get out there and go to the right instructors, the right training companies, and get the best value for your money. And of course, because I wanted to do this, it led me to build this monster of an SPR style rifle right here. Now, I will do a full review on everything that's on this, but everything that's here right now isn't gonna stay on it. So that video will come later. But basically what we've got here is an ADM upper, lower, and rail assembly. I've got an 18-inch heavy profile chrome line Criterion barrel in there with a 1-8 twist, primary arms, 3-18 Athena BPR mill, a Geisley 2-stage performance trigger in there, and a lot of other small parts that I really just love and have trusted my life to, like a B5 system stock, Magpul K2 grip, Raptor Radiant and tailing controls, things that I think most of us out there really do enjoy when we're building a new rig. And again, I will do a full build video on that thing when I have it set up exactly how I want it, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that. Well, what did we do, and what was really the course objective of this scoped carbine class taught by Adrian from Sidewinder Concepts? This course is really centered around obviously a scoped carbine, whether it was an AR-15 or an AR-10. Most of us were using 5.56 AR-15 style stuff, but a couple guys did have some AR-10 style rigs. Now, we really took these out to the maximum effective distances when it came to 5.56, and then we pushed those out to 970 yards. Yeah, I said 975 yards with a 5.56. And we did all of that with what turned out to be some just absolutely amazing match grade ammunition made by Badlands Munitions in the 75 grain and 77 grain Sierra Match Kings. And again, along with the build list on that whole setup, I will also have information on Badlands Munitions and what I named the 75 grain Bajo specials as far as ammunition goes over at the build list. It will be the first link in the description. And while we were out there on the course, I think everybody except for one person who was using 55 grains and a 14.5 were able to hit that 970 yard target repeatedly, again with 5.56 style setups. And then of course the guys running 6.5 and 308 had a little bit of an easier time. But that was really just to have a little fun and push the limits, because that's pretty much past the, I guess what you could say, quantifiable effective range of a 5.56 round. And not only did we all get it done, we got it done in some pretty crazy winds, everything from 10 to 20 miles an hour, which was tested on the Kestrel, and it kind of looked like this. And to throw another monkey wrench in there, we're shooting from one hilltop through a valley on another hilltop, so the winds were literally going 3 different directions at certain points, which was really fun, especially when we got to do some spotter work to see what was going on, not only with that trace, but where that round would eventually impact based on your wind call. Heck, even Admin was out there with his new 6.5, absolutely hammering targets, having a good time. And of course, everybody out there just had a smile on their face the entire day. And one of the things that definitely was driven home on all of us shooting things from 250 out to 970 yards with 5.56 was the difference between the maximum effective range and performance of our ammunition and given equipment with repeatable hits on target versus having fun out to a distance that's quite the stretch for 5.56 being 970 yards. Let's talk about curriculum flow and retaining knowledge. I haven't been in the military and law enforcement Classroom time, there's nothing worse. It's where everybody falls asleep. You literally retain no knowledge, and then you go out there and try to figure out what you're going to do when it comes to range time. It was the complete opposite here with Sidewinder Concepts. We had about 2.5 hours of classroom time, and it was very engaging, and I learned a ton in that classroom time, that short time, that helped me be so much better when we started to go do things out on the range. Now, this went over basic stuff like the difference between mil, MOA, what your actual trajectory is, how to do wind calls, hold versus dial, maximum effective ranges, fitting the rifle to the user, and of course atmospherics like wind, temperature, elevation, all those things that can really have a huge impact on the trajectory of that round. And if you want to play around with that, if you use Applied Ballistics or any other app, just change the elevation a couple thousand feet or the degrees, 40 or 50 degrees, and you'll watch how your velocities change and your dials, your holdovers change at extreme distances and medium distances like 300 yards. So once that classroom stuff was done, we hit the range and we started off with a chronograph just to make sure that our ammunition was good, we were getting the velocities we wanted, but more importantly, that ammunition was actually consistent in the speed and velocity we were looking for. We then did a quick zero confirmation and we headed up the range and we started to true our setups. And while we were doing that, we began working from targets at 250 yards all the way out to that 970, which was the fun zone and the last one we tried as far as the class went. But everything from 650 and in seemed to be very easy for everybody out there on the range, even people using things down with 55 grain and 14.5 barrels. And every single one of us left there with a very in-depth knowledge of the Applied Ballistics app. Now, I know I had heard all kinds of things about that app, that it was difficult to use, wasn't user-friendly. I can tell you again, this is where Adrian's teaching skills came in. He made it so easy to use, understand, and deep dive into that application that myself personally, I played with it for hours, speccing out different loads, rifle barrel lengths, different builds I want in the future to take things further or more intermediate. And you really can use that app to make a huge determination on your chosen round, barrel length, and the entire setup you want to run out there. So overall, the course was awesome, but there were a few things that I was extremely impressed with. The first one being obviously Adrian, the instructor. He made everything so easy to understand, so easy to digest when it came to these things that maybe some of us thought we knew but didn't really have an in-depth understanding of. But then he also made the implementation of that out on the range very easy and very confidence building. Not every instructor out there, especially my military and law enforcement ones, have that ability. So when you find people that can teach like that, they're generally going to jive with you and you're going to leave there with a higher level of understanding and a desire to do more. Now, for me personally, Adrian was able to fix just about everything wrong with my positioning behind that rifle in about 30 seconds. So having had spinal surgery before, I really can't lay in the prone very long or since that surgery without experiencing like extreme pain in the low back and the neck area. And that all had to do with things that I was doing wrong, because after that surgery, I couldn't lay behind a rifle the same way I used to. The second I approached my rifle and laid down, Adrian pretty much figured out instantly my bipod positioning was wrong, my rear bag positioning was wrong, my whole position behind that rifle was wrong, and almost instantly made adjustments on all of those to where I literally could have taken a nap, putting my head on the stock of that thing and just laid there probably all day. Another thing that was a huge difference with the Sidewinder Concepts class was I've recently been to a couple of multi-day classes at other places that are pretty well known. And after those courses, I left there not really understanding what I had actually learned, not knowing if I was really any better, and literally just had a sore back and a neck. So going from a couple day class where I felt like I left not learning a ton or not really understanding anything more than I already did, and then attending this class, we're in 2.5 hours worth of classroom and the rest of the day on the range, I felt like I left with a wealth of knowledge and I was still comfortable when I walked off the range. When I got to sit back and watch him work with everybody else in the class, everything from 250 out to that 970 yard target, it was really interesting to see all of the light bulbs come on and all of the confidence levels go way up. Because again, everybody in there was either at the beginning or maybe had a little bit of experience, but they were really there to learn. And the way that the course was taught and the confidence in gear and personal skills that was provided that day just made a huge overall distance. Watching people who have probably never fired their rifle at 650, 760, 970 yards before for a 5.56, and effectively be able to get those things out there repeatedly on target, even in those wind conditions we were dealing with. The overall outcomes and my feelings on the Sidewinder Concepts course, and Adrian specifically, I think everybody in that class would agree with me that we all walked away with a wealth of knowledge, confidence, and understanding like none of us had prior to not only the classroom portion, but of course that live fire portion out on the range. We had a far more in-depth understanding of not only what our own equipment was capable of, what we were capable of as end users, but of course the ballistics of the ammunition we were using and its capabilities at max effective range. And every person there was smiling, having fun, and I know every single one of us was immediately talking about the next range day, the next class, gaining more skills, putting those skills to use, and just getting time behind the glass to really refine what we had learned in this class. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, it's all about growth, polishing skills, and of course, having fun. If you can have fun in a learning environment, you're going to retain so much more knowledge, and you're gonna want to go back out there and have fun. So when it comes to Sidewinder Concepts and Adrian specifically, I 100% recommend them. If you are looking for a scoped carbine class, a precision rifle class, I really don't think you could do much better when it comes to the level of instruction you're gonna get from Adrian at Sidewinder Concepts. So make sure you share this video and information with your personal friends and subscribe to the channel. Not only is that going to help me, but it's also going to tell YouTube to push this video to other people, some of which may be looking for courses like scoped carbine or precision rifle. And I think Sidewinder Concepts is a great way to go. And it's also going to open up eyes of other people maybe who have never been exposed to Second Amendment content, which just helps us all in the end. And of course, like I said, I will have the build list for this linked down below, along with all the information so you can do your own research on those 75 grain Bajo specials or the 77 grain Sierra Match Kings, whichever one you are interested in. Leave me a comment down below if you want to see more videos like this on training companies and specific trainers out there, and I will see if I can make that stuff happen. Huge thank you to Adrian, Sidewinder Concepts, Badlands Munitions, and of course all of my Patreon, which makes a lot of what happens here on the channel possible. If you want to support me, you can use any of the links below, any of the links on my website, or check out the Patreon. Make sure you get subscribed. Keep doing it out on the range. Remember, if you stay ready, you ain't got to get ready. I will see you all on the next one.